Nation's momentum is back. Read the story. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick told Fox Business on Tuesday that President Donald Trump will reach a middle ground with Canada and Mexico on tariffs, and an announcement to that effect was expected on March 5. Read the story. The 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico imposed by President Donald Trump could erase billions of dollars from the bottom lines of the Detroit 3 and upend operations at virtually every automaker operating in the U.S., analysts and investors warned. Read the story. Trump's decision will have massive ripple effects on the North American supply chain, vehicle production and affordability, especially if the tariffs and retaliatory measures by Canada and Mexico remain in place for weeks, months, or longer. Where's what to expect in the short and long term? Read the story. Auto industry stocks took a beating March 4 as Trump moved forward with 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods, including vehicles and parts. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed down 670.25 points, or 1.44%, on top of a decline of more than 600 points on March 3. Read the story. Canada imposed immediate reciprocal tariffs on $30 billion Canadian of U.S. imports into the country. The response will expand to cover $155 billion in American goods if the U.S. tariffs remain in place for 3 weeks. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he is consulting with provincial and territorial governments on non-tariff measures if the United States does not change course. Read the story. The UAW, which represents 400,000 workers in the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico, praised the tariffs on imports, calling them a tool for undoing injustice of anti-worker trade deals. "We are glad to see an American president take aggressive action on ending the free trade disaster that has dropped like a bomb on the working class," the UAW said in a statement March 4. The UAW wants corporations to recommit to the working class, the statement said. The group is negotiating with the Trump administration to end free trade. "We want to see serious action that will incentivize companies to change their behavior, reinvest in America, and stop cheating the American worker, the American consumer, and the American taxpayer," the statement said. The UAW's support of the tariffs echoes its skepticism of the North American Free Trade Agreement and U.S. Mexico-Canada Agreement. In September, the UAW called the agreements a betrayal that led to corporate greed, with American workers ultimately paying the price. The UAW endorsed former Vice President Kamala Harris ahead of the November presidential election. Hannah Lutz. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said Canada will not back down from a fight after U.S. tariffs of 25% on Canadian goods and 10% on Canadian energy went into effect early March 4. Ottawa imposed immediate reciprocal tariffs on $30 billion Canadian of U.S. imports into Canada. The response will expand to cover $155 billion in American goods if the U.S. tariffs remain in place for 3 weeks. "Canadians are reasonable and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake," Trudeau told reporters March 4. "The threat of tariffs has hung over Canada's economy for months," he said, with orders for Canadian products drying up and planned expansions at local companies put on hold amid the uncertainty. "Now that Trump has moved forward with tariffs, we're going to see the real impact of a trade war between our two countries, and that impact will be to hurt American families." David Kennedy. Tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico will be worth the pain it causes the auto industry because it can help curb the flow of undocumented migrants and illegal drugs to the U.S., said Republican Sen. Bernie Moreno, a former auto dealer. Read the story. Open the map. Stellantis and Volkswagen are the European automakers most highly exposed to the new tariffs on vehicles imported from Mexico and Canada, according to Bloomberg Intelligence, which says the levies could wipe out a total of €5.88 billion, $6.2 billion, of European automakers' earnings this year. Read the story. Hear how automakers and suppliers are preparing as best they can for tariffs that took effect at 12:01 a.m. March 4. Listen to the podcast. Here is a look at why tariffs are being implemented, what they could mean for the North American auto industry, how Canada and Mexico could respond, and more. Read the breakdown. U.S. tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico went into effect March 4, forcing automakers and suppliers to brace for higher costs and significant disruptions to vehicle and parts production in the highly integrated North American supply chain. Read the story. Title: How to Deal with a Lazy Service Manager. Content. Trainer and podcast host Joshua Taylor has some tips for technicians who must deal with a lazy service manager. First, the technician should document everything, every instance the manager avoided a problem, pushed blame, or disappeared when things got tough. Patterns get noticed, Taylor said. One complaint is easy to dismiss, a pile of them isn't. Taylor also counsels technicians not to fight the battle alone. If a shop full of techs and advisors say the same thing, management has no choice but to listen, he said. Strength is in numbers. Another important piece of advice from Taylor is to not let the manager's laziness and bad habits spread to the technician. A weak leader drags everyone down, he said. Keep working hard, step up and be a leader to ensure the technician's reputation remains intact. Finally, know when to walk away, Taylor said. Some service departments are lost causes. Some managers will never change, he said. Don't waste years waiting for someone to wake up and do the job they should have been doing from day one. Your mental health matters. Waiting years will hurt you more than you know. Title: Trump says auto tariff coming, teases reciprocal duty breaks.